It's The Log. I'm Charles Purcell. I'm recording this early Friday morning, March 27th. And this being our Friday show, we'll be posting this on the Libsyn site, which shoots it out to all of the podcast platforms. If you're listening on Tuesday, I explained that we are now a daily show, Monday through Friday, weekdays, every day. This Friday show is the one that will continue as the weekly national broadcast, so to speak. They're all national. They're all global, of course. It's a podcast. But, this one will go out to all the regular platforms. Monday through Thursday will go only to SoundCloud and to riverwestradio.com, our flagship station. And, of course, everything is always on the website, charlespurcell.com. Oh, while we're on the subject here, before we get into things, you know, the companion half hour to this show is Charles Purcell Presents. And this week we did something kind of fun and special. We are airing an episode of Neo Radio. That's Peter Donald's program of independent audio art that he did back in the 90s for KPFA Community Radio out in Berkeley, California. And this week, and maybe for a while, we'll see how long we want to go with this. We're going to air some of the old Neo Radio episodes along with a pitch, an invitation, which I will extend to you right now, an invitation to all listeners, to all independent artists, writers, musicians, those of you with home studios especially. We'd like to launch a Neo Radio reboot. That's kind of trendy to reboot things from the 90s, right? It's a very simple concept. People send in their audio files, and we put them together in a nice little package and distribute the podcast. And it's pretty freewheeling. We're looking for music, sound sculpture, soundscapes, that sort of thing. But also commentary, maybe radio theater, tell a story, read a poem. Whatever your imagination allows. And that's kind of why we're presenting the old Neo Radio on Charles Purcell Presents. I don't know, maybe we'll do it for a couple, 3 weeks, just to give people an idea of what the old show was like and what the new reboot might be like. So I encourage you, as always, go to the website, charlespurcell.com/podcasts, and by all means, contribute your work if you'd like to do that. You know me, I'm easy to reach, charlespurcell@gmail.com. Well, I guess I can't avoid the subject any longer. I could just go on. I think I'd rather just go on with this sort of thing because I don't want to talk about what's in the news. I'm feeling the effects of, well, let's see. My first day of quarantine was March 17th. So today's March 27th. So it's only been 10 days. Starting to feel it. I didn't sleep last night. As we speak, it's early in the morning. And I just didn't bother to go to sleep last night. I'm having too many dreams. Starting to lose it just a little bit. I'm okay. I'm all right. Yeah, everybody stop what they're worrying about. Think about me for a while. I have the worst problems in the world. Oh, man. So, I love you guys. I usually save that till the end of the show, but I'm telling you now, I do. I love you. I really do. I hope you're doing well. I hope everybody's doing all right. This just gets... We knew it was going to get crazy. We knew it was going to get worse, and it is. And it's still going to get worse from here. And, I can't spend all my time yelling at the Orange Menace, as tempting as that is. I mean, this was going to be bad. If the best president in the world, if the best president in history was in office, this was going to be really bad. But we have the worst of all possible presidents, the worst president in history, so it's even worse. It was already going to be bad, but now it's catastrophically worse. And I won't go through all the details. You can find that anywhere. I'm sure you've heard it all. You know, Bobblehead Mike, who stands behind him and bobs his head up and down in approval while he spews his lies. Bobblehead Mike, you're a loathsome creature. But you know what? You could do one thing for us. Would you call a meeting of the cabinet and invoke the damn 25th Amendment, the fourth article of the 25th Amendment? I'm sure you've looked it up. If you and the cabinet agree, he's on a helicopter tomorrow. Would you please do that? Would you please do that? And for those of you listening, well, then Mike Pence would be president. I'll take him in a heartbeat over this guy right now. Just keep the seat warm and Bernie will take over after the election. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This is bizarre. We are through the looking glass. But yeah, Bobblehead Mike, get the cabinet together, invoke Article 4 of the 25th Amendment, and end this. Put Fauci in charge until the election. Keep the lights on in the White House. Give it a nice little dusting once in a while. Make sure no cobwebs gather in the corners. Bernie will be there in short order, and he'll take care of things from there. All right, Bobblehead Mike? All right. Oh, you know, when I worked at Wisconsin Public Radio, I got very annoyed. As Charles Purcell, you got annoyed? Yeah. You might not know that about me, but I get annoyed sometimes. I got annoyed because Fridays, we sort of just chucked the news. And everything was soft. It was stuff about travel and cooking. And it's like, no, let's not do hard news on a Friday. Let's start the weekend off nice. Hey, what? There's only we only broadcast 5 days a week. You know, the Saturday shows on public radio are very different. You're aware how that works. Then they have their little funny game shows and stuff. We only got Monday through Friday to do our news talk programming. We're just going to give up one of those days? Yeah. So the reason that came to mind, this is my Friday show, and I'm definitely 100% tempted just to talk fluff nonsense today. It's our first week of doing the daily show. We've been a weekly show up until now. This is the first Friday of our first week of being a daily podcast. And I'm kind of losing it. And yeah, I think I would like to talk about fluff today. Oh, here's something fluffy. I'm a new fan of Jimmy Fallon, who I've always kind of despised. You know, when he was a kid on SNL, he was kind of funny and goofy, and that was fine. But as soon as he took over the Tonight Show and became this annoying man-child, and he laughs too hard at the guest jokes, and he slaps his knee, and he hollers, and he yells, and he's notorious for being kind of middle of the road, and that infamous time when he fluffed Agent Orange's hair, and he didn't want to be too sharp or edgy politically, and the dopey little games. It's like, you know, what are we, children here? What? Come on. I couldn't stand him. But I am an absolute fan of Jimmy Fallon now. I've tuned in a couple of times to his, what does he call it? The Tonight Show at Home edition. It's kind of brilliant. He's just being his kind of goofy, funny self without the big presentational hoopla. It's just him talking to us through a camera, no audience, required to scream and clap and laugh at every little quip. And you know what? It's pretty good. He's begun this tradition of every guest promotes a particular charity. He kind of shares some online sort of things, which you would expect in this format. People sending in funny videotapes, and it's you know, it's not bad. It's really not bad at all. And I just love the fact that it's just quiet. You know, all the yelling, all the clapping, oh my God. none of it is necessary. And so good for you, Jimmy Fallon. I'm I'm very happy to change my view of you. So nice going. Yeah, here at the flagship station, River West Radio, things have changed quite a bit. I mentioned the Neo Radio project we're trying to reboot. And that's kind of I've had that idea for a very long time that I'd like to resurrect that format. But it really came into clear focus here when Martin Hallinger, the program manager, station manager, program director, I'm never sure of his title, and Zav, again, I got to know their titles. they're the two-headed beast in charge of River West Radio. Had to do some quick thinking about, well, how do we keep this thing running? And of course, right away, the obvious solutions being, well, hosts and producers can telephone or Zoom or Skype or somehow keep their shows going and on the air without obviously coming into the studio, which is not going to happen for a while. And so they're getting that done. They're keeping the wheels turning. And out of that discussion came the idea then I said, I've had this Neo Radio idea in my head for quite a long time that I'd like to reboot. Reboot? Ooh. Just caught my Wisconsin accent. That was pretty harsh, wasn't it? Reboot. Oh, gonna reboot. And so that's happening. And, and it's great. And hopefully a lot of listeners will take advantage of our invitation to send in material. The whole notion of online communications, we've had things like Skype and Face Talk or whatever they call it for quite a long time now. But wow, the comfort with it now, it's just second nature to everybody overnight. It's amazing. It's on every newscast. Reporters and anchors are at their homes or on their own laptops. They're Skyping in or they're Zooming in. I'll bet you've done it. I know I've done it. And I've never really been a fan of that technology before. I don't know, self-conscious about the face-to-face thing. I don't know. But that kind of went away. It was kind of like the curve that we all had to make from reading on paper into reading on a screen. If you're old enough, and a lot of us are, to remember, that was quite a transition. And a lot of us didn't like it. Didn't like reading on a screen. And resisted it at first. And then, of course, soon it became second nature. So as we often talk about, there was the old world and there's going to be a new world. It'll never be the same. Maybe that's one positive aspect, that we'll just be more comfortable with that. And not that we have to rely on it. We don't want to be quarantined indefinitely. But we'll be very comfortable with the technology, those of us who weren't. It'll just be part of the landscape in every aspect, especially in work life. I would love to see in our post-virus world great numbers of people choosing to work from home. And their employers having to finally admit, well, of course you could work from home. Why not? Well, we spend all day on our computers anyway. The only time we get together are for these meetings, and everybody knows how horrible and useless meetings are. Believe me, anybody who's worked in an office, meetings, oh my God. So yeah, in the post-virus world, if we can move more work online using the face-to-face technology, yeah, why not? Work from home. More people work from home. More flexibility. More flexibility in work. More time with your kids. Less time in the car. Oh, man. Imagine if we could cut the number of cars in the commute by half. I'm sure you've seen the headlines by now about the pollution in Los Angeles, in China. I've seen headlines from everywhere. Clear skies. The canals of Venice are clean for the first time in decades. All we got to do is retreat a little bit. And again, we're not going to quarantine forever. But you know what? Being a homebody's not such a bad thing. You don't have to be out and doing it. You don't have to be entertained all the time. You don't have to be out in the bars every night. You don't have to be out consuming and spewing exhaust as you drive here and drive there and drive back again. So I think that'd be great if we could learn that and make that little adjustment in the post-virus world. Why not? Congress is having this big flack as I speak. Here's my daily disclaimer. You're hearing this long after I've recorded it. It's early morning Friday right now. You're probably hearing later. You know more than I do in the news. So you probably know by now what happened with Congress in passing the bill. But what I was going to say is, as I speak, they're having this big flack about whether or not they can do a voice vote, and everybody has to be there, so they're all taking red eyes to get there. So maybe that's something in the post-virus world. I think it came up the other day. I would love to see a world where members of Congress spent most of their time in their own states and in their own districts, and they did a lot of their work with their colleagues, with their D.C. colleagues online. They would meet face-to-face occasionally, hop on a plane, go to D.C. a few times a year, and have your face-to-face things. But why not? I'd love to see government decentralized. It's been a proposal that certain agencies move out of D.C., and it's become a left-right fight. The conservatives are the ones who want to redistribute, and the liberals are those on the left of the divide were the ones fighting the idea. I don't know. I guess they thought that K Street would take over. There'd be too many lobbyists just kind of running the show. I don't know. I don't quite understand it. But yeah, in a post-virus world, I wouldn't mind seeing DC decentralized a little bit. What else is happening out there? Well, crime is down. Traffic accidents are down to practically nothing because nobody's out there. Now again, when this is finally over, we're going to get back out. But why don't we take with us this appreciation? You know what? Thousands of people weren't killed in car accidents. Now, I have seen some reports, and this is going to sound terrible, okay? Spoiler alert. You're going to hear something that sounds very offensive. And I know it does. But I've been hearing that due to the number of car accidents plummeting, along with pollution being reined in because of the lack of activity, that many more lives will be saved than will be lost to the virus. Because of cleaner air, cleaner water, and fewer accidents, and you total it all up, and in the end, the lives saved outnumber the lives lost. Now, what do you conclude from that? Well, of course, you don't. It's not like we're going to take a vote. Well, which one do I want? No, it's all horrible. But those numbers are interesting. So it doesn't diminish what's happening, but it can help us. It can help teach us what a post-virus world might look like and how we might make it a little better. Right? That's all I'm saying. And then I mentioned briefly this week about how in the pre-virus world, every once in a while you'd see a little post in your social media about, you can download free books from this site, or you can download pictures of paintings from a particular museum for free. And that would pop up once in a while. Maybe a university class somewhere. You can take this online class for free. They're just offering it. Oh, well, look at that. That's nice. But now, this absolute gusher. I just copied a few of them as I saw them, and the list goes on. Just some of them here. 45 places you can download tens of thousands of books, plays, and other literary texts completely, legally, for free. You can watch Shakespeare plays recorded at the Globe Theater online. A collection of 450 plus philosophy videos. I don't know, check out that one. I like that kind of stuff. 12 famous museums offer virtual tours you can take on your couch. Montreux Jazz Festival releases more than 50 full sets from Johnny Cash, Nina Simone, Marvin Gaye, and more. Wow. Paris Museum, 100,000 images online, unrestricted public use. Free online guitar lessons. We're getting a lot of that. A lot of that. The yoga and anything you can think of. And a lot of small business people, individual practitioners, will put out their Venmo tip bucket there. But yeah, what I'm talking about now is all the free stuff. Oh, I love this one. Everything I Know. 42 hours of Buckminster Fuller's visionary lectures, free online. Are you kidding me? The National Theater is going to stream a free play every Thursday night. 250 Ivy League courses you can take online right now for free. Man, Austin City Limits opens up video archives for free during the crisis here. Yeah, why not? And as we've been saying, you can do it now, do it later, do it always. In the post-virus world, let's just keep this going. Let's just give it away. Why not? We don't have to sell everything. We don't have to sell everything. It doesn't have to be about money. Everything doesn't have to be about money. Well, let's see, some random thoughts to finish out our week. The bill is sending out checks to every man, woman, and child. You got to make less than $75,000 as an individual, so there's that little means test. For a long time, I didn't understand the concept of universality. You know, things like the universal basic income or, the easiest example of all is just Social Security. You know, the richest guy in the world gets a Social Security check just like the poorest guy in the world. And a lot of people want to do means testing every time something like this comes up. But talking about net gain and net loss, it's way too complicated to means test everything. And it winds up costing more just in the bother of it. So yeah, just make it universal. Give it to everybody. It all comes back in the taxes at the end of the year. The rich guys wind up paying it back. At least they should if the tax system was fair. But that's a problem with the tax system, not with the distribution on the front end. So yeah, I'm fine with universality. People can't change their minds. Everybody wants to tell us, from the drunk at the end of the bar to the guy on the street to the social scientists and the psychologists. They always want to tell us that we can't change, that we're stubborn and locked into our ideas. I don't know. It's not true for me. I've changed my mind about a few things. I was absolutely 100% sure of my position on means testing. And then I just learned why I was wrong and said, oh, okay, I was wrong. I hated Jimmy Fallon. And then he showed me what he was capable of. I went, oh, all right, you're not the devil after all. I guess there's a person in there. All right, okay, Jimmy, I'm your new buddy. Maybe in the post-virus world, oh, this is wishful thinking. This is pie in the sky. Let's toss that huckleberry pie right up in the sky. Because I was about to say, maybe we could learn that the media shouldn't be crying wolf every single minute of every hour of every day. Because then when something really big does happen, nobody believes you. And still to this day, a great number of people don't believe the press, don't believe the media. They're the boy who cried wolf so many times. Now there's a wolf at our door, and half the population of this country doesn't want to listen to you. Was Chicken Little basically the same story with a different animal? I forget how the actual story of Chicken Little goes. Does the sky eventually fall? I don't remember how that story goes. The sky is falling. The sky is falling. I'm sure there's a moral to the story. Does some calamity happen at the end of the Chicken Little story so Chicken Little learns the lesson? I don't know. I'll have to look into that. Oh, and then, okay, I'm going to toss this out here, but it's just a little something to think about. All right, I'm going to toss you a little thought nugget, and you hold it through the weekend. We're going to have a weekend. I'm determined to maintain some normalcy here. I'm going to do Monday through Friday shows that have a weekend. All right, so think about this, because it's way too big to begin the discussion right now. Maybe in a post-virus world, we'll learn that it's always an emergency situation for somebody. And not just for somebody, but for a lot of people. The hardship that millions are now going through, just completely uncertain how this is going to work out and how you're going to come out the other end alive, let alone solvent. Well, every single day, in the best of times, in the pre-virus world, there were hundreds, thousands, millions of people living that nightmare. People who are homeless, people who are sick and dying and don't have the proper care, don't have insurance, people who can't find a decent job at a decent wage, wondering how they're going to make it, putting their kids to bed every night knowing that they're hungry. That was all true a month ago for millions of people. Maybe now that a few more of us are living that fear, just maybe in the post-virus world, we could have a little more sympathy, a little more empathy for those who struggle. And we can be a little more determined to live in such a way that doesn't exploit those on the lower rung. Maybe we'll have the courage to vote for lawmakers. Because laws make a difference. Policies make a difference. Are we seeing that now, finally? Can we lose that ridiculous, nihilistic, cynical view that, all the politicians are the same and they just make a lot of noise, and this attitude of surrender, just throwing up our hands. There's nothing we can do. All I can do is live my life and try to be happy and try to be a good person. Burp, 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 burp. Maybe in the post-virus world we'll understand that policy matters, that the people in the seats of government matter. Well, it's Friday, March 27th. I'm going to pretend there's a weekend coming. It's all just kind of artificial, but I'm going to pretend that it's the weekend. For the local audience and for those on SoundCloud, I will talk to you on Monday. If you are subscribing to the weekly podcast, I'll talk to you next Friday. But you too are invited to just come on over to the website or jump on SoundCloud. That's the WXRW page of SoundCloud. Okay. I hope you're well. I hope you're well. I hope you're well. Have a nice weekend. This episode of The Log is available right now wherever you find your podcasts, including Apple Podcasts, iHeart, YouTube, and the podcast source. Enter Charles Burcell Presents in the search window. Or best yet, go to charlesburcell.com. There you'll find this and all the other series in the podcast family. Follow, comment, and contact me on Facebook and Twitter. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio, riverwestradio.com. Theme music composed and performed by Peter Donalds. From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Burcell.